Yeah, sir, I think we can start.
Okay. Um, Morning, everybody, and welcome to this session, um, which has been organized by Bangalore Values Association together with ACBA. Like you know, most of us being professional valuers, we are in touch with both the investors, um, representing investors sometimes, maybe doing due diligences for them. And on the other hand, we also help the people who are being seeking the investments, helping them with pitch decks, trying to take them to investors, mentoring them through the process. So it's going to be quite useful for us to be in a session like this, which um, gives us some insights into probably it will tell us what we are doing wrong sometimes. Um, so hopefully this will add a lot of value to us. And from Bangalore Values Association, I believe that all of us have been looking forward to sessions which enhance our capability in our professional practice. And I really hope that this session is going to add value to that as to that objective as well. With this, I'll just hand over to Shilpa.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce ourselves, Bangalore Valuer Association, to the startups and the investors panel here. We are a passionate group of registered valuers. I will also take this opportunity to explain our profession. Under the Companies Act, there is a mandatory requirement that a professional who has got the certification under IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, with a proper course and examination, is certified as a registered valuer, and he is eligible to issue this registered valuer report, which is mandatory under various parameters specified under Companies Act. It could be funding, basically a fundraise with a new investor. Existing investor existing in the company will not require the valuation report, but yes, a new investor, it could be a private placement, preferential allotment, or a scenario of an amalgamation, merger. All these instances, the law expects we as a registered valuers issue the valuation report arriving at the value of shares of the company, and then this report will be submitted to the statutory authorities as well. This is the brief background about ourselves. Now it is my proud privilege to introduce the investors panel. Mr. Naveen Lakur. He is an angel investor and chief innovation coach. He is the founder of Institute of Inspiring Innovation. He has also been a catalyst for 250 plus ideas to have become commercial realities. He is a strategic advisor to Tech Bharat, a startup tech event. He also indulges in writing books. A little extra, Inseparable Twins, and Found are his books. I would like to introduce now Mr. Mahidara Davangere. He's a qualified actuary and mathematician. He's a MD of Pramartha Analytics. He has been advising VCs and angel investors on exit planning using various actuarial risk modeling techniques. He has 17 plus years of experience in research and financial valuation, covering industries like banking, insurance, and financial sectors. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Vishu Gupta, who is Vice President, CEP Global Funding. CEP Global aims to be a platform where all stakeholders in the education industry can interact and connect with each other. Their flagship product is jobstoteach.com, India's leading portal for hiring for schools with 30K plus teachers registered and over 1,000 schools across the country recruiting through the portal. Now I would like to request Mr. Mahidara to take this forward.
Thank you, Shilpa. Just checking that I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. First of all, apologies. I joined, I think, 2-3 minutes late, and apologies for that. And then thank you very much for Bangalore Valuers Association for this wonderful opportunity to interact. I think this is the second time I'm interacting with all of you here. That today is one of my favorite topics, and also a breadwinner, that's valuation, and especially at the startup level. So just want to set the scene before I hand over the stage to all the entrepreneurs here. Today, this is an event where there is a disclaimer. We are not going to be issuing any term sheet. So, but then all the startups are going to be definitely evaluated. There is going to be a lot of discussions, but any more sensitive discussions will happen offline, not here. But then we also request, we would definitely focus from a valuation perspective. And then all the discussions which the valuers are looking, that's also not going to be used for any commercial purpose, and it's only for academic understanding. But having said that, outside this forum, anybody is, if you are interested, can get in touch on a one-on-one basis with people outside for any commercial purpose. But then at this juncture here, we are not going to be discussing too much in detail some of the nuances. Just a disclaimer. Second thing is, yes, this is a valuers forum. So we will definitely be discussing on the financials, and there are all the necessary non-disclosures which are there, implied non-disclosures which any professional organization will have. That's taken care. Meanwhile, Naveen, myself, and Vishu, we would be focusing from an investor angle, and most of the forums, entrepreneurs come one after the another, but here we have allowed all the entrepreneurs to come together so they can even watch the other presentations as well. So we would request the audience to make a note of your questions if you have, so that after the presentation, so we need to give enough time for the entrepreneurs to present their idea. Then there's going to be a Q&A between the investor forum as well as the entrepreneurs, respective entrepreneurs. And then after all the three entrepreneurs have presented, then there will be an open discussion wherein it's going to be open for the valuers to ask questions, either to the entrepreneurs or for the investor fraternity. So that's just general rules. And here, now I would like Mr. Vishu Gupta to help us, introduce the entrepreneurs respectively, maybe one at a time. As the entrepreneur would come, maybe we could introduce them. Mr. Gupta, I think you're on mute. Mr. Gupta, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you, Mahidhar. Very good morning to everyone present here, especially, and a big thanks to Bangalore Valuers Association for organizing this wonderful program, wherein we give a platform to startups to interact with the valuers and the investors. I'd like to first initially call Mr. Guru Prasad. Guru Prasad is the co-founder of Kannada Phonetics. Kannada Phonetics is a Karnataka-based startup. It's not a startup anymore. I think he's been there for more than 2-3 years, and they've been doing very well in their basic business idea is to revive usage of languages apart from the English. I think he's better to explain what he's into, but I have known Mr. Guru Prasad for nearly a year now, and his passion is very contagious, and his enterprise is soon, his enterprise has been doing phenomenally well, and I would like to ask Mr. Guru Prasad to take over now. Mr. Guru Prasad, are you available?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly, Mr. Guru Prasad. So I think we can do the drill. I mean, the drill you're very well aware of. We can start off with your pitch deck, brief introduction about yourself, and then we can go ahead with your pitch deck. Over to you, Mr. Prasad.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for...
Just in terms of time check, we would be letting you know, I think there are 3 presentations, Mr. Gupta, right? Overall?
Yeah, we have 3 people present here.
Yeah, so I think we'll keep 15 minutes for presentation and 10 minutes for discussion. So just on a time check.
Sure. I think, Mr. Guru Prasad, it's 8:10 now. 9, 8:10. I think you have time till 8:25.
Okay. So can I go to screen share mode?
Yes, I think you've been enabled. You can just try it.
Okay. Yes, you can.
Thank you, everybody, for allowing us this opportunity. So we are a kind of edtech and a hardware company merged, trying to empower our languages, connect Indian languages to the economy. Is this visible to everybody?
Yes,
the screen?
it is visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, primarily we started with, in 2017, we had a patent and we started really getting into the making of the user interface for Indic languages. Our primary purpose is to address the issue that in about 30 to 40 years, our languages are going to decline. If we don't do something now, if we don't connect it to economy, some other language is going to take its place in addition to English. So with that seriousness and with a lot of the simulations and military simulation background, we knew something had to be done fast. And my mother tongue is Tulu. And for the first time, Tulu, we have empowered Tulu, which has reached the same as the colloquial language, but we did find scripts. It is one of the first language to translate Sanskrit to any language and backwards. So there's a huge potential for a lot of technology for lossless translation and other things, voice-based computing and operating systems for Indian languages. So with all this, we said, we have a patent on the user interface, then why don't we go forward? So as I go, I'll briefly explain. So we are about 3-4 of us in this company right now as board of directors. Me and Venkatakrishna Shastri in US, we had a Hindu university where we really started this problem where we had a challenge of teaching languages to our children. That's when we got started, and we know the same issue is going to come into India in the next 30 years or so. 7 major scripts will be out of use, including Devanagari and Kannada. So we had to empower these languages through technology. So when we observed, there was no keyboard for Indian languages. And this language market is mushrooming, and it's huge. So companies like Amazon and foreign companies like Amazon and Google are investing money, but we have not done anything about it. So we wanted to address this market size with something that you can use particularly for the rural and children. And this was very important because it directly supports the national education policy. And most of the members of the committee were surprised to see this language lab concept that we had established testing our keyboards. And why is this important now? I think I mentioned 1 or 2 reasons. Because we have always been under English, and we have not been able to empower our languages. And every state has a different language. But one of the fundamental issue about this is we don't have a user interface in our language that can connect one to the other. You can see the CAG growth and other aspects of this market. So a lot of the software-based companies are trying to encash on this opportunity. EdTech is one of the big market trying to encash. So what we have is a very unique layout for our languages. The Swara and Vyanjana, if you see, have broken into 9 clusters. I have a Kannada keypad here. We have it in 10 languages. All the alphabets are similar in most of the languages. So with one keyboard, with the press of a button, I can type any Indian languages. So this is the very simple concept. Based on Shiksha Shastra and Panini Kanta Shastra, we had discovered this formula. Why this Swara needs to be next to this Vyanjana. And then we started making the hardware realization of this. And we never gave up because hardware is a tough field in India and nobody wanted to make the dies and other things. So we started with the very simple model. And as you see, this is our toy story of making keyboards in India. So with one keyboard, we're able to create so many jobs in India. And all of it is made in India, including the circuit design, circuit printing, mold design, because none of the mold makers in India were willing to make the molds. They wanted us to go to China or Taiwan. But we stood fast and convinced them. And here we are with the keyboard. So this is the concept of the language lab that we have been trying to pivot, given the COVID crisis and other aspects. So we tried to set up the labs for various schools. We put it in about close to 50-60 schools right now based on donors funding. And the various phases we are in right now is the first phase where we made a 7-inch tab compatible keyboard. It's a keypad. It's a very simple, I'm trying to show here on my inset screen. It's a very simple keypad. So all made in India, again, the same technologies of getting all the embossing and other things. And the second phase, we made a larger one for shooting 10-inch tab. And the third phase were the dies. So we are at the phase, finishing stage of phase 3 right now. So I'm showing on the inset this keypad, this keyboard actually. All the dies are made in India. We have it in 10 languages as of now, and we connect it to a tab or a screen or a pocket computer. And we have got all this pouch and case where teacher can take it from class to class, because rural schools, that's a big problem. And here's a pocket, one of the example of a pocket computer that we have connected. So with this concept, we are able to give content, and children as young as 3.5 years old are now typing their mother tongue, typing, okay? The challenge is the children no longer try to practice writing. So they're directly getting into digital technology. So we found that, so before the children pick on English, there's an opportunity to retain the mother tongue in their memory for long term. We are getting into toys now because we found this huge impact in children, and using our layout, we are trying to get into toys. Go to the next slide here. All right. So this in general is our market area. That is, one is the toys, early learning, EdTech games. And then with this keyboard, we are also trying to reach out to a lot of schools for creative typing. Newsletters, we have put Khan Academy in a lot of schools, and using Colibri, so it's free content. So with this very small 4,500 2 gigahertz Linux computer, we're able to make it a server and empower. And this is a great tool for EdTech and great tool for about 70%, 73% of the schools in India don't have computers. So it's a huge market to go, taking a lot of this EdTech and so on with a very low cost evolution. And also main thing for the e-governance, web domain name is available in 10 languages. So, but we don't have content. So here we are with the user interface where a lot of people can create content and empower our languages. Here are some brief projections. We had done some evaluation before because we had to transfer the patent. We had to pay tax for the patent transfer. So something has to change in India on some of these rules. But here we are trying to get from, we are doing about 500 keyboards a month in production right now. So we have to ramp it up to reach about 5,000 per month and reach several states of India. So we have a very conservative estimate of projections, and we are trying to seek help to meet some of these milestones on the revenue model. So at the top, you generally see the school market. As I said, only 27% have computers. So we want to have a very conservative estimate of reaching those in 5 years. And if we have people with some good EdTech reach, we could do a lot more to the other 70% that don't have computers. And this is where we really seek Government of India's help. We want to seek NGO help and basically a EdTech help. So all of these can come together. And also this aggregator-like model of creating content is also huge, 354 billion by 2025. So if we don't do this, then some foreign countries are going to do this. Already Germany is translating a lot of our Kannada content. So those jobs are gone. So we need to do something fast. So to reach the rural tier 2, tier 3 cities to empower and connect our languages to commerce. So this is our current channels. We have particularly focused here in Bangalore, Karnataka. We are trying to also reach a couple of neighboring states as of now, and we want to reach similarly. So in general, we want to enliven the Brahmi Lipi-based languages and advance India into a digitally empowered society with one key at a time. I just want to end my presentation right here. So I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Guru. Thank you. So, Mr. Mahidhar, how do we go forward? Do we take questions now, or after all the other two startups also give their present?
The investor questions would be now, the panel. The audience question would be after all of them have said. So the reason being, it's going to be completely,
Understood. Yeah.
So, Naveen, would you like to go first?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Guru, nice to e-meet you again. Yeah, somebody's mic is on. Yeah. Guru, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Very nice to e-meet you again, and happy to see that you have found a niche. And is it by choice that you have you've chosen the education as a segment as against say even today most of these documents related to even property transactions and so on, so they're all in local languages, so they might badly need a keyboard or the training which might be required for them to adapt to the kind of work that they'll have to do. And you've chosen education as a segment in your presentation that I get to see. Is there a reason that you chose the education segment, that is the children, as your market segment, customer segment?
One is primarily the barrier to entry is very low. Children are typing without any inhibitions. They are not biased by QWERTY. Number two is they are the children in 20 years from now. They'll be about 40 years when this crisis in India is going to happen, primarily demographic change and the decline in all our languages. So if they are familiar with this potential of our languages now, then that's a huge market for us in the long run. So we're trying to look in the long run. Short run, like you mentioned, yes, there are a lot of, even I get calls every day from attorneys to convert the legal documents. Even yesterday, I had a 1,000-page document, addresses to be converted from scanned document from Kannada to English. So we had to do all this, and I don't have a workforce to build that model. And we have the technology. There are some errors that we have editors, and once you scan from one language and then convert to the other, there are mistakes. We correct it with the keyboard and send it. And domain expertise is needed in each. Like for legal documents, I need somebody with a legal background. For someone with a medical background, I need someone with that medical background. So the domain expertise is needed in some of these fields. So we don't have that workforce to build. So probably once we get the infusion of investment and that vision and market in that, that is one of those aggregator market that I just mentioned. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. So how do you plan to cater to, is it the channel method, or you hiring and managing people? How do you plan to cater to that market?
I think a channel would be nice, or I know there are already people trying to address that market. We would love to partner with them, or if there is an acquisition opportunity, that's also open to us. That's part of the aggregator model that I know Jio has been trying to address that market a little bit. They have built some software tools for multiple people, domain experts, to come in and build content, rapidly change all English-based content to the Kannada or Hindi domain names. We would love to get into that.
You actually touched an important aspect, especially the way the Jio is penetrating into the rural market, into grassroots level. And you said pocket computing is one of the capabilities here, right?
Yes.
That you could interface to the today pocket computer is the mobile phone. So that's the it's a more powerful system than even 10 years ago, even a large computer on your desk would have been. Now, the computer fitting into your pocket is more powerful. So how do you, if I'm, say, Jio, what is the value proposition that you have for associating with you?
For Jio, one of the things is, so they're looking into the 250 million 2G to 4G transformation customers. And they are expecting them to spend average of 5,000 rupees a month from where they are currently. So what our value proposition is if we were to integrate this keyboard to a geophone or a point of sale system that they have, or their EdTech channel, the revenue per month per customer, that's exactly what they're trying to focus. How much will it increase? So we are trying to show there's various options with revenue per customer that can increase, particularly the customer segment they're targeting, 2G to 4G, primarily tier 2, tier 3 cities with low income group, and how they are tech enabled, their revenue increases, so how they can share that with Jio. So particularly right now they're going after retail stores with point of sale machines. And it's right now a little difficult. The point of sales in Unicode, Kannada and Hindi has been a little difficult. So they're again only using English. But down the road, that's possibility for us to integrate with point of sale hardware that they have. Second is along with their phone, all this image to text, speech to text, OCR applications, that's huge. These are things that people sitting in villages can do. And that is a segment that we can show that the revenue per customer and revenue share per customer can be increased with our hardware. So that's one way.
Yeah, you said your positioning is more as in hardware and providing the keyboard.
Yes.
What are the chances that everybody is using the soft touches, especially the interface of the keyboard being on the screen? Yes. So where do you see the usage of the hardware as a keyboard, versus that being part of the software?
One is, I think, point of sale machines and their Jio computer that's going to be coming soon. It's almost like a Chrome. So our this 4,500 rupees computer is much more powerful than that. It's just that people are not familiar with Linux. The user interfaces are not there. So these are applications that we can create here in India. So that's something that can add on to their product line. But the soft keyboards, we had it right from the get-go, from the beginning. Even before we filed our patents.
Just wanted to interrupt you. Sorry about that. So because we have less time, I would like to now focus. Mr. Naveen, can I focus something on the financials, if you don't mind? Because we have less time. Okay,
sure.
Because we got to be a little crisp here. There are a couple of observations. In your first initial slide, you mentioned it is 250 million market. And then as you ended your slide, there it was by 2025, you were mentioning is 350 billion. So is it a typo or is it only 250 million market, the native language users?
It has 7 neighboring countries. You also are based on Brahmi Lipi: Sri Lanka, Nepal, Burma.
No. My question was, is the number 250 million or 250 billion? Your initial slide you had.
Yeah, the initial the 250 million, that's based off the KPMG and Google report. That's just on the vernacular languages, particularly focused on the soft side. That was the one. And as we ended, that market includes the entire EdTech hardware keyboards, as well as aggregator type models, all of them combined. So the initial number was just primarily based on vernacular languages.
Okay. So this is US dollars, right?
Yes.
Okay. So which means if it is 250 million, it's the current market. I'm not talking about the potential. Potential is a different one where it has to be yet created. Is just 1,750 crore rupees in Indian rupees. So don't you think it is a very small addressable market compared, because one of the key things as investors we look is the market size, current market size. Yes. And that's one of the questions, which observations. But my actual question to you is, have you done a business valuation or your patent valuation?
Yes, we had to do it because we transferred the patent into the company. They did a very conservative estimate because they were comparing us only with Logitech and Fujitsu. Only
what's
hardware
the valuation it was mentioned by them?
So they just compared us with hardware makers. So that's why our evaluation was much lower. So that's, and also we said 27% of the schools only have computers. So then again, that got reduced based on that estimate. But they didn't look at the potential.
So, Mr. Guru, what I'm understanding is because you have positioned your product, as Mr. Naveen also mentioned, as a hardware rather than as a software. So anybody would also overlook it from a hardware perspective. And there are little confusions in your marketing strategies, because at one end you are saying you want to be an aggregator model, but aggregators don't manufacture; they outsource everything. But in your initial presentation, entire supply chain you want to manufacture, and a company of your scale, do you think can manage the entire market, supply chain, manufacturing, and also do the entire marketing across? And so, don't you think it is trying to get the elephant into the room, or so? How do you see that?
I think, yes, we definitely, right now we're producing 500 a month. So we see it a challenge already. We definitely would love to partner with other hardware makers or composite tab vendors like Samsung or others. So we are open to collaboration. And we can now make QWERTY keyboards also. So that opens another segment. So yes, we are willing to partner with other folks to scale up the production. On the aggregator model, that includes, that's for just content, not the hardware aggregation. It is for the content aggregation. That is bringing a lot of the different multilingual content like semantic web folks. So a lot of this multi-language content has to be parsed and produced. So that was the aggregate model that we're talking. And I think Mr. Lakoor mentioned scanning of documents. So that's part of that revenue segment.
Okay. One direct question to you in terms of what is the ask from the investors? How much of investment are you looking, and what is the kind of exit you want to give to the investor?
As of now, I think for us, the milestone is getting to about 1,000 keyboards per language per month. So that's for 10 languages, about 10,000 keyboards per month. And that is the nice exit that a lot of the OEMs and other type of companies would want, given this market size in India. For us to reach that 10,000 per month production capacity, we would say our cost of goods as of now is about 800, 900 rupees per keyboard. So if we can bring it down to about 300 rupees per keyboard at that volume, and then that's a sizable exit in terms of a larger partner acquiring us or a bigger vendor trying to team with us, or TCS have expressed interest, things like that. So software-based companies can kind of use this for their services. So we haven't gone that far yet. So the ask is, how do we scale from 500 to 5,000 per month, and then from 5,000 to 10,000 per month? And those are the help we're requesting for things that can be made in India.
Sure. So, Mr. Guru, I think it's really good. Of course, there are much more sensitive questions, which we can always talk offline. But my key observations are that you're a one-member team, right? Or because are you the single founder, or you have?
No, I have a co-founder. He's a software focused person. So I'm trying to be a hardware person, and we have four board of directors in total. So two are not so actively promoting, but they've invested as a director.
Okay. What have you thought about your product obsolescence? As when Mr. Naveen mentioned that yes, things can change. Like forget the incremental change in the product. What if speech recognition softwares and things like that come very fast, and then we don't even need keyboards? In 20 years, nobody would use keyboards, right? So already,
yes. So I know a lot of people have asked us this question before. Two important aspects in terms of our growth. One, we have mentioned toy. Second is we are also actively looking at the chip. So there is some fundamental property of Brahmi based languages, very fundamental, which we have not empowered. And this lossless translation property of certain scripts, combined with this and our layout, it's very important that we can build a voice-based computer. So we have talked with IIC and IIT, and it's far-fetched right now. So those are huge potentials. Number two, the current voice-based conversions, any company, 94 to 98% speech-based conversion software is hosted on Amazon, and about 4% on Google. So if you look at it, we are already paying tax for the first time since Aurangzeb's time. We are paying Jazeera tax to use our languages, which is not right. So I know the utility might be there, but the fact that we are paying a foreign country to use our language is paramount. So it's imperative that we develop some solutions hardware-based locally. So I can put a chip and I can put a FPGA small board within the keyboard. And I can do a lot of that right there. And USB 3.2, I can also send voice to your computer. So a lot of potential exists in developing it. But we don't have that. The only analog company in India has shut down in Hubli. It was acquired by HCL, and HCL has exited the hardware market. So we are also looking actively with different folks in India in semiconductor industries where they're trying to promote hardware and electronics in India to see how we can invest in such technologies, how such grants are available, because no investor wants to go so far. So we want to at least gain some revenue and build such technologies so we don't get obsolete. And keyboards are here to stay, even if you see the patents from Apple. So next 100 years, keyboards are going to be there despite the speech to text. And a lot of noise factor comes for everyday use in India. Speech to text are not so useful and easy to use. The English language speech to text has been there for the last 5 years. Hardly any of us use at least outside. Maybe in controlled environments, we might use for Alexa. The only company pushing that is Amazon, primarily to push Alexa into every house in India so they can buy products from Amazon. But on the back end, it is hosted on Amazon Web Services and we are paying tax. And that is the sad part, that we are losing control of our languages. Like I said, Germans, they're dubbing all our movies into Kannada and 7 other languages sitting in Germany. So if we don't do something now, we are going to be a dumping ground for foreign companies to sell their products to us.
Mr. Guru, I think we will come back to you for more general questions from the audience later. But then there are many more detailed questions, maybe which can be taken offline, and some suggestions also. But then we'll come back to you later. So, Mr. Naveen, can we move on to the next entrepreneur at this point in time? But it's a wonderful presentation, Mr. Guru, and we're very happy you're trying to achieve something which most people don't want to venture. That's everybody wants to get into software. So it's a good appreciation. We appreciate that. But there are certain challenges from an investor angle, which will again come back to you at a later stage. So what they see as a challenge, we'll come back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Guru Prasad. I think 2 things that I just would like to mention here is one, definitely, I think you've been trying to do everything yourself. You will need to collaborate a lot. Collaboration would be the way forward. Secondly, I think you need to think about the distribution channel also, because you have been talking about market production a lot, but I think the distribution is also a very critical factor. Anyways, we'll come back to all these things when we take up questions from the audience. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Soumya. Ms. Soumya is the founder of ACADS HR. Ms. Soumya is a HR professional, and she's been working in the education sector for nearly about 10 years now. Education, recruitment in education has primarily been very traditional. So Soumya is looking at changing the way recruitment happens in the education sector. They've been working with a number of schools. Now they want to go digital and expand their horizon. Ms. Soumya, the floor is open for you. You may take over. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vishu. Good morning, everyone. So as briefed by Vishu, so let me just open the pitch deck of mine, what exactly we've been talking today. And I have my colleague Siddharth also joined in for the discussion. Okay, so yeah, our main motto is connecting academicians and academies. And that's the first thing we would like to mention. And ACADS HR has been there for last 4 years for now. And we started in 2017, and then with just about 2 employees, and then with the team size, now we have grown up to 12 actually, in fact. And we have been working with around 200 institutions, and then we manage the end-to-end recruitment. So a lot of institutions have been, we are the only one who's been exclusively working for the education sector in India. I mean, there are quite a few, but very limited. And then they have actually taken up a lot of other services, but we are the focused effort which goes in, and then we have been connected with almost like 3 lakhs academicians for now. And today we have been working with around 200 signed up academies for now, and we have placed around 700 plus academicians to various institutions. It could be in school, college, or even in edutech companies, I would like to say. And yeah, we hold around 3 lakhs database, which I mentioned earlier. And we really want to scale up ourselves, because last 4 years, I think we've been managing a very conventional way. And then this is the year we thought that we will be going out in terms of reaching out in terms of a technology platform, which is going to be the major growth the way we want to. And this is about a brief introduction. It is founded by myself, and then I have 2 advisors who's been there strategically, who's been guiding and connecting us to various levels. So I hold around 12 years of experience in the education sector, overall, and then education sector around 8 years, I would like to say. So I've worked with Pearson, and then Pearson has got a lot of schools, 35 institutions, and then I managed around 3,000 teachers. That's when I realized that this is an unexplored sector, and then people are really wanting to provide some kind of a cater to. So whichever institutions we go for, we get a very warm welcome. So they really need us. So there are some institutions say that, a month's salary to give away for a teacher's placement, it's going to be expensive for us. So we have a solution for any institutions who would want to be onboarding us. Okay, and the products and services are very briefly we have mentioned. So tech platform, which I did mention. So the way we want to scale up is that any teacher, for example, teachers' constraint is that not like any other professionals who would want to travel 20 kilometers or anything. So 10 within like some of them like 2 kilometers. That's where they actually choose this profession, because they're interested. The kids are going to be in the same institution, or at least I get a vacation along with my kids, and then I want to be part of their holidays, vacations, because that's my focus for now, is a prime thing for them. And considering that, what we have mapped it is that it's a Google mapping. So whichever institutions actually wanting to closer to my location, they can just click through a Google map, go apply directly. So we also have a review of the institution. So any institutions which actually would like to see the reviews, they can also come. So as of now, we've not published, because I think as we grow furthermore is when we're going to publish about the institution. So if I'm an ex-employee, worked for so-and-so institutions, before even committing myself, for example, if you go to a restaurant or a movie theater, we just ensure that the reviews, is it like worth to spend 500 or 2 hours in this particular movie or a food hall? But however, when we are going for institutions where the teachers are committed more, like at times they end up being with these institutions for 10 years, but we don't even realize that what is the check, and at times the institutions, the way they manage, they don't realize either. So that is when we have actually created this review platform as well. It's a very easy access. They can click on the locations whichever, and then search out the location. They get a lot of opportunities. So we are there on the Android for now. iOS is just getting built, and they can click on the particular job, whatever they're searching, English, math, the location wise, and then directly they can apply. So either they can review or apply, both together they can do it. So candidates who are looking for jobs, it is made very easier for them, and it's just a click of a button, they can apply, and then it comes to directly to the institutions which we have tied up, and the institutions will log in and then call the particular candidate for the job offer. So at a very nominal cost, which we are going to discuss furthermore, so on the details of it. And next is on the institutions who are looking for the candidates. It's just an online platform. They can apply, post their jobs there, and then a list of jobs will be reviewed by our team, and then we just they can onboard, and we just going to market it, that particular brand as well with the institutions. We have a set of criteria to be asked for from the institutions, about the pictures of the institutions, what they, when they was founded, year, and how many students are the teachers, what they are good at it, curriculum, all those brief notes are there already. And as we progress, as I mentioned, I think review will also be mentioned. So for now, for any teacher, log on to our app, click of a button, just search for the job, English, Hindi, math, whatever, and then apply for the job directly, and then review. Review will actually add a lot of value to us, and also the one who's going to join in future will definitely give a platform to them. And the opportunity size, in schools and colleges, almost this is the numbers where you can see the all 15 lakhs odd schools are there in India. These are private, which I'm talking about. Colleges are around 39, and then standalone are around 11,000. So we are also working in UAE. So we've been managing with quite a few institutions there as well. So the UAE market is mostly, they want expats. So UK are Europeans, or at times US American schools want an American to be joining in. So we've been managing with that particular categories of teachers as well. We've been interacting day in, day out as well. So the I mean, higher education we have not touched upon. If you see, so I think it is also a 52% of the, sorry, I think 52% of the market size is higher education, which is not explored yet. And rest preschools also, as you see, which is not regulated as of now, 15%, and then school education 28%, and vocational course as well. So these are the figures which you can see to it here on the opportunity size of it. And in terms of, we have 3 services, I think I would like to mention, and then go for opportunity sizing, how exactly this can be scaled up. Smart Match, I'm coming from the bottom. So Smart Match, what we call it is, unlike any other consultants in India or across the world, so we charge a month's salary of the candidate. So mostly any institutions would like to afford to that kind of a cost, they would come back to us, and then confidential position. There's a principal who's leaving, or I really want her to leave the institution, but however abruptly I cannot. So they come back to us asking that confidential positions are there. So we exactly match their needs, and then we provide a replacement for a month's salary of it. So even if I count today's whatever we've been doing it, 0.002%, assuming that this is the very nominal with the opportunity slide which I showed previously, this is a bare minimal. If we are going to do it, I think the revenue numbers, you can see it in the last column. So likewise, we have a second option, virtual HR process. A lot of institutions in India don't have an HR. Forget about IGCSE and IB schools, which they can afford to have. And if you see an individual as an HR professionals, they also don't want to be working with the institution. So we manage end-to-end virtual HR for them. So from recruitment till about an exit. So any institutions want to hire, so we give them like 12 in a year you can hire, and then we onboard all the teachers, not only our hiring teachers, all the teachers. We do an induction for them, payroll processing, statutory, then exit interviews, and we also have a appraisal, and then keep enriching yourself, which is a product which is psychological based, which we conduct with the teachers, mostly to do with the HR and the psychological, whatever we have it. So we do end to end, which is a very nominal cost from 15,000 till about 30,000, which is per month. It's a retainer fee month on month, which comes. We manage sitting in our office, we directly manage and handhold that institution. So wherever we've been working today, they're very happy rather, and the retention of the teachers have gone really well because of the current teachers, and then the one who's no HR, and then if they even doing the HR, they would leave abruptly, are managing them, another cost of HR manager should be sitting. So that is another model, whichever institutions, especially the residential and outskirts areas, they were very happy to have this virtual HR with us. Third one is a job post, so which is a largely, which institutions say first one and second one is very expensive for me, I really can't afford. So or rather I have a large HR team, but yet I need and I can't spend, I don't have a budget. So they would like, they would prefer a job post. We charge around 2,500 per job postings in our platform, and then we would market it on their behalf. So we have a lot of traction. A lot of 3 lakhs teachers are on the, even on the social media platform, teachers are actually watching us. So the minute when we apply, we get a lot of response. So that gets directly uploaded to the backend team of ours, and then goes to client, whichever client has been. So they can log in through mobile or through the desktop as well, and then they can connect. So these are the opportunity sizing for the virtual HR, whatever we've been doing it today. And job post, even 1% of, if you're going to do it, that's a large extent what we see. So as I mentioned, it's an unexplored thing so far. So nobody has pitched in largely to this sector. Moving on to the next slide, there are quite a few global players in this particular sector. So TES or eTeach or Teachaway. So these are the ones wherein I think the costs are very, very exorbitantly high, I would like to say. So we know in UAE market, all 3 of them are working, and even in India, they tried to pitch in. I think Indian sector is very different. They couldn't sustain, and then they moved on. So TES is the one which is exclusively doing for the education sector in the UAE. And the next is a traditional way. Imagine a newspaper advertisement, even on Wednesdays, if you see Times as in the advertisement to give, it's a very expensive, and then you get loaded with the teacher's profile, relevant, irrelevant. Even somebody who's aspiring to be in the teaching fraternity, they would also apply. But as an individual, it is very difficult for them to go through this careers page, whatever the institutions have got. And then next to the personal references, which is like, if I know someone, is when I would actually refer, is what they would do it. So that's a competition what we have it. So we are very affordable, and also we are online, I would like to say that. And our financial projections for this year, I think last 4 years, we've been managing very conventional way. So this is the year we've been actually targeted ourselves to more than double of the revenue, what we would like to bring onto the table. And then with the EBITDA, of course, next 2 years will not be majorly. So far, we are profitable. I think considering the growth which we want to see around the next 2 years, so this is what the figures looks like. So expenses are also quite high because of the technology. And then marketing is what we are seeking for fundings now. And these are the little brief note about, based on the infusion for the 2 crores for the next 2 years is what we are, is the ask for us. And yeah, this is our funding requirement. A brief, largely we want for the marketing and as well as the tech platform, which we would want to implement for the next few years. So 4 years down the line, we would actually reach to a stage. So that's a brief note about ACATS HR and then the way we would want to scale up.
Thank you, Soumya. I think a very impressive presentation. Mr. Naveen, Mr. Maidul, please.
Yeah, Naveen, would you like to go first? I'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, nice to hear you, Soumya. Good morning to you. And just a couple of questions from my side. Especially with these schools, right? They've been in the traditional mode. How are you making them aware that this is the way to manage their operations?
So we actually, in fact, when we go to any institution, sir, I mean, they will not even have any appointment letter, offer letter, abruptly teachers would leave it. So we actually handhold them. We have a team who will go and be in the institutions for a while. I mean, the initial stage to understand their policies, procedures, all that to begin with. As of now, we are largely in Karnataka, so we are affordable. We are easily movable. But as we progress, we want to have set up our own offices across Pan India in 4 major cities. That's our plan as we progress. So in Karnataka alone, we would like to, we go and then see and then understand the culture of the institution's vision, mission. Based on that, we create a lot of platforms and we handhold them. And we also teach them how exactly they can do it as
well. So here it is manpower intensive for your own self the way currently it is, right? So as you scale, how do you see the cost aspect growing, and is it feasible for you to maintain that profitability?
Yes. See, what happens, so one executive of ours will manage around 6 institutions. So it's very easy for him to manage, because see, what happens if I'm managing 16 institutions in the same locality, the way we manage is that if A, B, C, D, E, F, and all the 6 schools are in the, close by locations in whichever locations in the city. So we ensure that the teachers, one whose English has been mapped, and in case they get rejected, so we try to map them to other institutions wherever they're working. So what happens that way, one executive and each institution is, for example, paying bare minimum of 20,000. Okay, so you can imagine the retainer fee of 20,000 every month. So he is managing virtually, he's not even going to be in that place. So likewise, as we increase the clientele base and the manpower team of our own team, so the way we scale up, will still be profitable, and it's a retainer fee. It's not like every month we close and then we ask for it. So retainer fee is actually soothes us in terms of financial stability as well. So we are very, very happy. And then virtual HR is the one which is the way to progress as well for a lot of mediocre institutions in India.
So currently, you're based on your revenue model. You are engaging with the schools on the retainer basis, or is it success based for the hiring?
So retainer basis, only around 8 we have. So largely we have around 70% of our revenue, mostly from the smart match, which is like matching and then hiring. It's a post payment. So, and then second one, virtual HR. This is the year we would like to target equally to smart match and as well as to virtual HR.
Where do you see the potential for your growth happening? Is it virtual HR or is it hiring?
So hiring for the IB and IGCSE school, they would prefer, because they already have an HR. They don't want to outsource. They're very conservative in terms of letting out their staff members on someone else. They're also very minimal in number, if you see so. So virtual HR, if you go to tier 2 or 3 cities, or even to a residential schools across our outskirts schools, so they are the one who would be very happy to see us, because for them to get one teacher, it is very difficult. And we are the one, we know which teacher, like there are single parents, single mother, and then who would want a security, who would want to be in the residential school or outskirts zone. So those are the teachers who would want to be in that. So we map it and then we actually put them across those institutions. That's how we've been. So we see a virtual HR is a larger potential because of the size of the market. CBSE and mediocre institutions are a lot many in the market.
Yeah. I'll come back to other questions after Mahidar's and Vishu's.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Naveen. Soumya, it was a very, very good noble cause helping the teachers. My question is in terms of the addressable market itself, because the way things happen in the addressable market today is most teachers are paid X salary, which is on records, but what they are paid is different. And that's happening across multiple schools. Now, also most teachers are only paid 10 months salary, not 12 months in many of the schools. Okay, so it's a very unorganized market, especially in the teacher hiring segment. And the culture of having an HR or outsourcing and even paying for hiring, that culture has not come into most schools. The addressable market, which you're saying, tier 2 and tier 3. So my biggest concern is there that you are in a market where they are not willing to pay, and there's a lot of cultural shift that has to happen. And how do you even scale in such an environment? Because there's a very heavy entry barrier. And one of the reasons why many of the bigger players wouldn't have come into the market is they would have studied the market and observed that this is not a scalable one. So how do you address this?
Yeah, definitely it's a scalable one, Mahinder. So what happens is each institution, as you mentioned, I think 10 months they would pay, but there are certain criteria. If she's a permanent teacher, I think there's another pay goes on. And then if she's a temp teacher, because teachers are also after the vacation March, they don't give the commitment. So in which case what they say is June is when I'm going to pay. So most of it what they would say, and that is point number one. And next is actually the pay wise also what they show. So that's when we have brought in the review of that particular institution. So whichever candidate is actually wanting to leave the institutions for whatsoever reason, we want them to be coming to a platform or a forum and then uploading it there. So the institution should be aware of what exactly they're doing, which is not ethically right. That is how we would like to address it. There are today, if we publish that, I think there are certain challenges. I think we will get the institutions will not take it. But as we progress, we are definitely going to put up across, and then we would say that your institution's review rating, and these are the given by so and so teachers. I mean, not necessarily we're going to publish the names of the institutions or the teacher's name, but at least we would actually give the institutions with the ratings and then comments. So other teachers, one who wants to onboard, so for that reason, at least the chairmen are the institutions which, will get into an organized mode is the target of ours.
Okay. So that's good. And in terms of coming to your financials, the ask was around 2 crores, which you mentioned. Yes. Have you come up with what is it that you want to offer to the investors?
So we feel that for 2 crores for a period of 2 years, 25% stakes is what we've been thinking of.
You have valued your business for about 8 crores in that case.
Yeah, we see a potential market in it, and I mean, whatever we've been
valuing it at 8 crores.
Siddharth, are you there? I think he's not there. Okay, so I think we have not done any valuation. Yeah. Hi, Siddharth.
Hello, Mahidar. So the valuation is based on purely some multiples we have seen, EBITDA multiples, projected EBITDA multiples in the similar kind of industry. So we have some companies like TeamLease, we have companies like Westcorp, a few listed companies, and based on market valuation, what are the EV EBITDA multiples? So on the basis of that, we have come up with some pre-money valuation of 6 crores with an equity infusion of 2 crores, post money becoming 8 crores. We'll have a dilution of about 25% given to investors. So that's the basis for this valuation. It's not based on any cash flows. It's basically based on some EV EBITDA multiples.
Yeah. So that valuations are driven by multiple things. I will not go into the details of it. My question is, in terms of scale, whenever an investor, investors are also very greedy sometimes. So they say, like, if I invest 1 rupee, I would like to get 10 rupees out of it. That's how they think about it. But that's the ask. Of course, they don't get everywhere. But how do you see giving back that money? Because That is, what's the exit factor for you? Everybody says, just I'm ready to get acquired and stuff like that. But how do you see yourself scaling, or how would your actual valuation multiply so that the investor would benefit there?
Yes. So if you look at the projections after 2024-25, we are looking at an EBITDA of close to 5.4 crores, and with the same kind of multiples that we applied during the time of equity infusion, the multiples, at whatever 10x, etc., they will look like close to a 10 times kind of growth for the investor. But how exactly will they realize the money? We might, like, based on the growth potential at that point in time, we might do another series of equity infusion and give our previous, our first stage investors an exit. Or if we do not want to do that and our investors are happy to onboard us, happy to onboard with us till a longer time till we go IPO, then IPO will be the only exit.
Your IPO is later, right? Because you have to cross Series A, B, C, and then only after many rounds of infusion would go into IPO.
Right, right. So longer term will be IPO, shorter time Series B, C, etc. There are also certain equity, certain platforms, HR platforms, which are like PE funded platforms, which are looking at niche sector HR services like education, pharma, recruitment, and placement consultancy, etc., which try to put which will take a majority stake in these smaller organizations, and they will do they will beyond a couple of years, they will try to take ownership of these. It will be like a strategic sale. Initially they'll come with like a 49-50% kind of ask for a certain valuation, and after 3-4 years they would like to go IPO. So
you're happy to exit with an acquisition.
That will be Soumya's call, basically. But I think, Soumya, if you want to answer whether this is something which you're doing it for an exit, or it's more like a longer term plan, that will help. I think the first priority for us is to go IPO, which will be a very long term kind of ask from investors to be patient and wait. And then investors who would like to encash on an opportunity whenever there is a Series B, Series C kind of an infusion. And that is when some investors may get a partial exit. Soumya, regarding acquisition, do you have to say something?
Acquisition depends. It's a very tough call, actually. Strategic investment partners, if they come in, what exactly they're going to offer us and what they bring onto the table. So based on that is what we would like. At this moment, I don't think so we are. There are a couple of things which came on our way as well for the acquisition. So I think we were kind of clear not to go for now, and we would want to still manage the way we've been managing.
So I have more questions, but I'm trying to resist from asking, because we can always discuss later. Naveen, you had a couple of more questions. Would you like to come in? Maybe one question is what we have time, because we have one more business plan to hear.
Ishu might have a question, so I do. Let's.
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, Soumya, I think this is an interesting market in terms of organizing and aggregating and organizing, right? So how do you see there are different challenges from scale? One, as you move beyond the state, because of the kind of demographic divide that we have. At the same time, this also has the potential to go global. Then the challenges are very different. For the market capture, what are your thoughts, and how do you think you want to solve this so that you are able to penetrate?
Yeah, major 4 series is what we are trying to put in our BDs alone. So, through a co-working space, we want to have some business developers alone. And apart from that, the execution is going to be based on our office, because mostly we interact with the institutions and then go around, and the BD is the one who will actually hold and retain the clients and then go and talk to them wherever there is necessary. So that's our, way forward, what we have thought, beyond. So if you see our slides, so largely we want to penetrate through a job posting. So when we are doing a job posting, I don't think so we would have any of those difficulties. And then once the job postings are going to be large larger, and then Smart Match and Virtual HR is an easy way, because the more we sound it off to the people, I think they would actually apply for the jobs, and then we can actually put those teachers through the Smart Match or a Virtual HR way, and then we can still do e-learning, induction or anything. So whatever we've been managing, we base out of, we don't visit our school. So maybe just as a BD person, one who goes and then manages, he's been managing. Rest all we've been managing mostly from out of our office itself. So scalability, I don't think so there's any challenge. And the large way we want to scale up ourselves with the job post, which is actually the topmost priority way forward. So that is when we've got our technology also in ready for now.
If you have to give a statement to a potential investor, why do you think they have to invest in your company?
The reason being, it is an unexplored, and then we have seen it last 4 years with the whatever the efforts we have put in. Very smallly we've been doing it, and every year from the first year itself we are profitable. So definitely, if the investors are with the right motto, one who can guide us in terms of marketing and other things, I think we will go. The energy goes in the one direction, and then we can scale up to a very large extent. I see that. That's when I think I'm very confident that this will definitely work out in a large way.
Okay, thank you. All the very best. And yeah, over to you, Mahindra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Soumya. It was a good presentation. We'll again come back. Please stay on, because we also have audience with some burning questions there. We'll come back to them in some time.
Sure.
So, but meanwhile, let's move on, Vishu, to the next entrepreneur.
I think next person we have is Mr. Srinivas. Srinivas is the founder director of Mediclock. Srinivas has a background in architecture, and Mediclock is not anything related to architecture. It's related to emergency services. And he founded this company after a personal experience where finding an ambulance was a big task. And even after the ambulance came in, it was not of much help. So because of that, a personal traumatic experience, he's founded Mediclock. And Mr. Srinivas, are you there?
Yeah. Good morning, guys.
Morning. Good morning, Srinivas.
Good morning,
over to you, Srinivas. You can take over and you can start your pitch. You have 15 minutes. We are 9:05, 9:20. You can.
Thank you, Vishu. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Srinivas, founder, CEO at Mediclock. So I will be sharing the screen. Oh, sorry, 2 minutes. Can everyone see?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, guys. So, yeah, myself, Srinivas, founder, CEO at Mediclock. Mediclock is a very early stage startup, pre-revenue, and software startup, which is focused on developing software products for healthcare sector to manage their day-to-day activities like ambulance services or doctor consultation, online consultation, blood delivery, pharmacy delivery. Going forward, many more verticals, many more opportunities which is possible in healthcare sector. We would like to try. So. It all started as Vishu said, when I had to face a situation where I couldn't find an ambulance, and also when I called 108 government ambulance service, emergency service, which was supposed to reach in under 15 minutes, took 45 minutes, and the driver didn't know where to take the person, and he decided to take the patient 20 kilometers away. We were in Bangalore. If you guys know Bangalore, we were near Nelmangla. And he had to take the patient to Majestic, KC General Hospital. So that situation made me think, what is actually wrong in the ambulance sector or ambulance system. So when I started digging deeper, I realized that they have the GPS, but only in the ambulance. They don't have the data provided to the user. They don't have the driver data provided to the customer, whoever calls. This creates so many confusions in locations, basically, and also a communication gap, basically, which will create time, which will have more time consumption. So which will end up in delays in delivery of the service. So we are in 2021. We have around 800 million smartphones in India, and still the emergency service in India is backed up by telephone numbers. Not they're yet to be digitalized. Slowly, everything is picking up pace, but everything is digitalized in this country, from Ola, from the cab delivery service to food delivery to pharmacy to blood samples, even lab tests also, but not ambulance services. So I started working on developing the software product. As I am from an architecture background, I couldn't code the entire thing. So I had to hire new graduates from college because I had less capital. We had to get trained together for 1 year. We developed the product. Now we have a product which we can take to the market. So the problem is that we don't have a single platform for healthcare sector. Every ambulance service, every hospitals are scattered because they follow their own brand. Everyone is scattered. This is like when Ola came, there were so many cab aggregators like Tours and Travels, or so many cab aggregators were there, and they used to charge a lot because their booking frequency was less. So what he did, Bhavish Agrawal, was to bring in an aggregator model, which reduced the entire cost of travel, and thereby reducing the cost on the passenger. So I bought in the same kind of formula into the ambulance sector, where I could give more frequency, like more bookings to the private players and hospitals who can deliver free service in case of emergency for users, and basic fare in case of private ambulances. So with emergency cases, what I want to do is what we have done is we have made a platform where from where users can book an emergency ambulance, which will the booking will be sent to the nearest hospital, which will then call the user to get to know about the situation and then assign the ambulance, depending on the situation, whether the advanced ambulance is needed or basic ambulance, or the doctor is needed with the ambulance or not. So that information will be taken from the phone number provided through various platforms like application, or they can even book an emergency ambulance or private ambulance through WhatsApp or through our toll-free number, which will be received by our customer care support, and then they will book the ambulance exactly like how the ambulance will be booked through application on behalf of users. So all the information will be sent to the hospital, which will then be transferred to the driver, or the driver who then delivers the service going to the location using our location data provided through application, going to the location, picking the patient and bringing the patient back to the hospital, same hospital, which will reduce the entire thing of searching the hospital, or don't know where to go, etc. Like those kind of common problems, common confusions will be cancelled out. The patient will be transferred back to the same hospital, and everything will be ready to treat the patient with first aid. We don't know anything about the after process at hospital, because we don't want to indulge in their practice. We want to deliver the patient to give first aid. We want our basic concept is to deliver the patient to the nearest medical center where the user or patient can receive treatment. And this is done free, for free. Anyone can book an emergency ambulance, and we won't ask any money from that patient or the user. This will, we hope this will encourage people to use our application to help the people in need in emergency situations, and also for their own use. But like why we will not be charging fees, and how we will be generating revenue, I will explain with emergency cases in the later stage of the PPT. So with private ambulances, it is basically a Ola aggregator model, where we will be finding the nearest private ambulance and sending the booking to the nearest driver, and he will do the service, complete the booking and take the money or like get the fare. This will not be a free service, obviously, because this is a private ambulance service. And yeah, I mean, we are like this works like a whole aggregator model. So here we want to reduce the burden on the owners. Basically, there are many private agents who own 10, 20, 60 ambulances, depending on their capacity. We have developed an application where they can add the drivers and vehicles, and everything else will be taken care by the application. It will take care of the attendance. It will take care of the bookings they have done, how much has been earned. Everything will be taken care in one application, and all the drivers' data will be there. And drivers will be getting the direct booking, nearest booking. And this will make it the transport faster, and which will result in more frequency of bookings being accepted from the drivers. Okay, so this is what the idea was when we started. So obviously, being a startup, the pivots keep happening. So we came to this idea, this proper idea, with the pivots we have had before. So after this, I mean, like we developed the product completely. Whatever I'm explaining this right now, we have the product ready right now. We are testing our pilot program with the Sagar Hospitals, Bannerghatta Road, and we are starting our operations. I mean, pilot again program with Aster RV JP Nagar in the coming week. So this is what we have done till now. But I mean, these are the advantages if they choose, the hospitals choose to accept our platform to receive patient. So our ambulance hospitals can have an application where they can manage their fleet and just push the booking within a matter of seconds without wasting any time. The driver will be assigned, and on the other end, doctor will be assigned, and like they will have the data where to go, what to do, and the patient will be brought back to the hospital, and the entire hospital, I mean, the facility will be ready to treat the patient with minimum first aid. This is what will be agreed with the hospitals. So for users, they will have tracking. They can, they will have contact details of the driver. They will have contact details of the service provider, both hospitals in case of emergency and private agent in case of private bookings. They will have, they can instantly book like a Ola cab, both emergency ambulance as well as private ambulance. So this hospitals without any ambulance can get a subscription-based ambulance service is the idea I will explain in the later stage of the PPT, because this needs a little bit of explanation. So this perk I will explain in 3 more slides. So the competition right now with private ambulances and emergency ambulances are these, some of these. vMeadow is a software-based aggregator who provides data like phone numbers of various hospitals and ambulance service providers through an application. So they have he's one of a kind, because no one has also done that also, because there is just dial and Google, which will be which can be accessed from internet, but vMeadow has to be downloaded, and yeah, I mean it's like a just dial but downloaded application in a downloaded application. Mars is a Manipal hospital ambulance service and Apollo ambulance service. These two are a private ambulance service who provide service for their patients or to get the patients to their hospitals. They won't provide to other hospitals. They're not like nearest ambulance will get there faster. They don't have that kind of concept. They just have a concept of getting the patient and taking the money out of patients. So yeah, I mean these two are the that kind of a model. StanPlus is an ambulance service company only based on basically concentrated on ambulance services, but they own their own ambulance. They have their own toll-free number. So they provide like private ambulance service, and also they rent out their ambulances to various hospitals and charge them like 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh for 2 vehicles, and it increases exponentially as the vehicle number increases. And other private ambulance services, they are not connected through to any hospital. If they're connected, that connection will be of a primary connection where the hospitals pay them for 10 to 15,000 for bringing the patients from any part of Bangalore or even some other district also. So that is what is happening. This is a gray market, gray area which is happening in this ambulance sector. Because of no data, no one is able to do anything, and because of this, the prices are the cost of travel is even though it is less, the prices put on users are more. They charge anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 to travel inside the city itself. But if they choose private ambulances, because they do that because they don't get frequent bookings. And because of that, I mean, every day if they get one booking, they will charge all the expenses on the first booking itself. That is how the private ambulance sector works, and all the others, yeah, because they provide more than ambulance service, yeah, they take off the patient, and that is how the business works. They need patients to run the business, so they take the patients. But we want to touch the untouched population on behalf of other hospitals, other emergency hospitals where they don't have ambulances, where they might have minimum ambulances, but they don't have connectivity to the nearest population, nearest emergency maybe at that point of time. So so that is that is the basic concept. We want to touch the untouched population on behalf of hospitals, on behalf of private agents, so that we touch more population and get more frequency of bookings, thereby reducing the cost on the patient or on the user. So we have a per kilometer basis billing thing. So that which will basically enable us to legally, confront those private ambulances to reduce the prices and get this much profit from each every kilometer you drive. This is what we want to achieve going forward. And other healthcare services is under production concept. The theory, or what I can say, my idea, where people can rent out stuff like wheelchair, medical beds, which are essential because there are so many old age people who will be needing these kind of services, and they don't have a platform to search for. They don't have a platform to compare. But they will be paying for whatever the amount they will be asking from the internet or the telephone calls or some other service providers. They don't have a platform to compare. So I would like to introduce a rent or buy option where users can rent out stuff like medical beds or oxygen cylinders, or as I said, a wheelchair or things like that. The list might give a list. We can add on. We can go on adding the list, and then buy stuff. Also, same things we can give like a furniture rental startup. We can be a small nano rental service which can provide just only medical equipments for users. And also rent out mortuary van services, because it's I know people might hesitate talking about it, but it has a market. People find it, people don't find affordable services in these cases also. So, and they don't have a platform to search, even search and order for coffin boxes or freezer boxes, where there is a market. Every day there are thousands of bookings happening for those kind of things also. So I found a market and I want to introduce that in our product. So our business model is B2B2C, connecting with hospitals and private agents, being their business partners and giving them bookings to increase their revenue, thereby taking some share from them and generating our revenue. For every booking on emergency for hospitals for using our software support, we will be charging them 1,000 to 1,250 on every booking. And in private ambulances, we will be charging them a 10% commission on every booking placed from our platform. So taking that for every booking, if we can generate 1,000 rupees per trip in emergency ambulances services, and if we can target an average trip of 30 trips per day, we can generate a revenue of 30,000 per day and 9 lakh per month. So basically, if we can concentrate on improving or increasing the trips per day by expanding our operations in various places, we can directly, the revenue is directly proportional to the trips increased, and that will show at the end of the fourth quarter. if we can generate around 250 trips per day, we can generate a revenue of 75 lakhs per month. This is basic numbers like which I have worked out without any help of any accountant or any economic or anything. This is my idea and how much I can earn from each trip if I charge this much is the idea behind this table. And with private ambulances, if we can achieve the same number of trips or like 500 trips per day, we can have 11 lakh revenue per month. So this is basically like, obviously we will be charging less for users, so we will be getting less from private ambulances. So, everything combined, it's a good money. By providing free service also, we will be making money from hospital sites for providing patients and obviously for them, for providing them the software to connect with them. So, and now we have the subscription model. I was talking about that time. Here, this pivot happened recently, like around 2 months back. From then we have started working on the product. This is, for till now we are connected user with hospital, user with private ambulances. We were thinking about connecting how to connect private ambulances with hospitals to provide emergency services as well as services to hospitals also, where they can use these ambulances on paper booking basis rather than paying for vehicles for the entire month. Even though whether the use is there or not, you are going to pay. But this is better than paying for the entire month. They can pay for the ride. So we were thinking, okay, how we can integrate these two, because private people need money there itself, or the assurance. The assurance we can't. No one can assure without having proper data, proper documents. So we came up with a model where hospitals can use private ambulances through our application, book subscription, subscribe our ambulances, and the booking will be sent to the nearest private driver, and that person will come and provide the service. For that every ride, we will raise an invoice for both hospitals and share the same data with the private agents. Like live May, like every second May, it will keep updating, and every second the driver will know, the agent will know what kind of booking has happened, where. If it's hospital, the prices, the money will be collected every month on a monthly basis, because they will be clearing invoices through accounts team, and that is easier for hospitals to clear any bills, and it will be easy. It will
so
make
Srinivas, I think we are out of time. I think
I will talk about my team. This is the subscription model. We have large hospitals, medium hospitals, and small hospitals like diagnostic centers which don't have vehicles, medium hospitals also which don't have ambulances, but they provide services. They can use the subscription model to book ambulances to get their services done. For on behalf of patients also they can book, or for their own use also they can book from our platform, and we will charge them once in a month, and which can be cleared from their account stream. That is the whole concept behind that. And it's a revenue model. Capital ask is, I couldn't cover that, but team is, they're all very, their own experience is 1.5 years, and that is with Mediclock, with us, each one of them, including me, because it's my first office, because as soon as I quit the college, I landed up at Mediclock, founded my own office, and right now we are here. And if you guys can support me, I can cover, Mediclock can cover more areas and try to give best of services to use people and the clients involved in the entire operations. Thank you, guys.
So, Mr. Srinivas, thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. So could you take your slides to the financials, because we also would like to understand the financials.
The revenue, this one, sir?
I think the capital requirement and stuff like that.
The last slides. Last slide. Where you couldn't actually focus much.
Okay, this one?
Yeah.
This might be over exaggerated, but can be achievable if worked on properly. But a capital ask is...
You are asking for 2.5 crores every quarter.
No, sir. No, this is 2.4.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking you this is like,
24 lakh.
Since you are pre-revenue,
Yeah.
Sorry, Naveen, I'll try to go first and then can I give it to you, Naveen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. So since it is pre-revenue still, and you can see that this is also, there are already some players into the market. And for you to penetrate, especially in the ambulance service, it's going to be quite difficult. And also, if you see the same model, copying the same model of Ola and Uber would not work for every sector, because you commute every day, right? But you don't go to hospital every day.
But
So
hospitals use ambulances every day, sir.
Sorry?
Hospitals use ambulances every day.
Yeah, but I'm talking from the customers. It's if you see from customer angle. If
I'm for Mediclock, customers are hospitals and private agents. Users are we are connecting them with these people. That's a byproduct for users.
No. Let me complete what I'm trying to say. So in terms of stickiness of the product, of course, hospitals would pay you, which is good. But from customer perspective, I think there's some challenge there, because getting repeat customers, people would not want to be repeat customers. That's the kind of aspiration. But in your add-on service, that is mortuary services, which you mentioned, I think there is a big market there, especially. That was quite interesting, because people will not spend for ambulance, but they will definitely spend for mortuary services. That's a hard fact of today's society, you know that.
Yes.
But there we would see there's a fantastic market opportunity. But overall, since you already mentioned you have not done any valuation of your business and stuff like that. So what's your aspiration in terms of investments besides this? And what would you give in return to the investor?
So my main ask will be, if you can provide me with 10 good technicians, 10 good software people, I will give you the best product you can see. That's
yeah, but that's not the investor's work. That is
that's so the entire
so what would you ask from the investor?
The entire investment will be focused on getting some good tech people, because I had to spend my capital on the fresher people who saw videos from courses offered and learned the software. They didn't know how to develop any application. They knew only how to develop a website when they came out of college. That is Indian education system. So when they came out of college, I also didn't have any idea regarding coding or software sector, because I was into architecture. But what architecture did to me is enable my creative process, whatever part of my brain to solve these problems. Maybe when I could see the problem, I directly, I started working on this when I was in third year, that is 2015. That time my parents were like, go finish the course first, then we'll talk about any investment to your company or your idea or anything. That is what that is how the Indian parents react. Anyway, I had to wait for 2 to 3 years, gather my own money for some money to invest in it, and then obviously parents invested in my startup, and now we are here. Without any coding knowledge, I could figure out the logic to work, to give best solution for, according to me, right till now. Once we have the feedback, once we go live, we'll be definitely receiving the feedbacks from both hospitals as well as users, as well as private agents, as well as our investors, our employees. We should keep pivoting to make the business more interesting. That is what I believe in.
Mr. Srinivas, I think we may have maybe 1 or 2 questions. I would like to pass on to Mr. Naveen now.
Yes.
Maybe after that, we will throw open the floor for questions for all the entrepreneurs together. So we can even stop sharing your screen. Mr. Naveen, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, Srinivas. This is a very touchy topic, right? The startup, that I can see that you're also more emotionally associated than the business coming in the front, right? But from an investor perspective, they would like to know what is otherwise it could be philanthropic versus a business. Same way you have 2 categories of ambulances. One is which is free, the other is private, right?
Yes.
So my question to you would be, how many hospitals you clarified are your customers? And so how many hospitals have you spoken to, and how many of them are already onboarded? And is there any revenue potential, which revenue recognition which you have done, or is it at a pre-revenue, it's more of onboarding only?
Till now, I mean, okay, I missed one history in the startups story where when I started, before hiring anyone, I had to go to a software firm to get my idea developed. So that was a big mistake, which I didn't know that time. So by the time I realized it was too late, and the entire product was not ready. And because of pandemic, everything was shut down. Their entire company was shut down. And with that, our entire product. From there, we started developing product. But in this time, I had visited around 45 hospitals in Bangalore. I know around 45 people in entire Bangalore who has appreciated this idea. And yeah, because of their feedbacks, I could pivot, I could develop the product into the product which I have today. And with the 45 hospitals I have, I'm working with 12 hospitals right now in getting the entire product installed. And we have it's already installed in Sagar Hospitals, Bannerghatta Road, and it's working in Sagar Hospitals, Bannerghatta, and it will be installed in Aster RB. So this is, I mean, we are very early. I agree. I mean, obviously, I mean, everyone has to start somewhere, and everyone has to, do it. If no, I mean, I also used to think,
no, sure. We understand that. I just wanted to know how many that you've spoken to, and
40 hospitals
have you onboarded. That's all. I just need numbers.
Yeah, 40 hospitals I have spoken to, and now we are in the process of onboarding 8 hospitals, which will be done in the due course of time in another 1-2 weeks, because they need time, because we are new to this field. I mean, they don't know us. They're taking their time to analyze us and understand our product and sign the MOU.
Yeah. Thank you. All the best. You know, I think if there are any other questions coming, so we can take it up.
Yeah. So now what we'll do is Mr. Srinivas, Ms. Soumya, and Mr. Guru Prasad, you all can be online now, and even we from the investor panel will be online. The floor is open for questions from the audience, because we have been asking a lot of questions. I'm sure there are several unanswered questions. So if they are very sensitive, that we will not be able to answer, but then generic ones, definitely we will. So please keep in mind sensitive questions to be asked on the public forum. But meanwhile, over to you. So, Ms. Shilpa, if you first.
Yeah, just a minute. I would like to interrupt the flow of this session just to enable the mandatory requirement of IBBI to have a poll. Okay, every question, every session what we have has to mandatory have a poll, and the poll report will be submitted to IBBI. So Jivika, my friend, fellow BBA member, has helped me in this. Jivika, can we launch the poll while Subara also has some announcements to make? Okay, Jivika?
Yeah, sure. I'll right now launch.
You can launch the poll.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mahidara.
Sure. So
it will just take some 5 to 6 questions. Yeah, 5 to 6 questions. The poll will be launched. Immediately after that, Q&A session will be started. I request all the registered valuers to participate in the poll, as the attendance or the award of CEP certificate for attending this program will depend upon your participation in the poll. IBBI is very strict in this concept, and you may not be getting credit as if you are not actively participating in this poll. It's a multi two answers also possible, right, Jivika, for this?
Yeah, there can be multiple choices for this question.
In this particular question, it's a multiple answers are allowed.
Shilpa, can I take 1 minute?
Subharav, while the poll is on, please go ahead with your announcements.
Yeah. Thank you all the members for registration and for renewing your membership. And a few members are not at renew. Please renew yourself on or before the 31st. Otherwise, your membership will be evaluated. And I request all other members also to refer our Bangalore Value Association, become member to get and enhance the knowledge in the areas of valuation. And please write a mail to Bangalore Value Association if you have any queries, or you can contact us through BA members for any queries to get renew membership. Thank you.
Jivika, can you also tell us the right answers?
Yes, the answers are A, B, D, and E. Only C, that is highlighting your team's experience and credentials, is not a mistake.
All others have to be avoided.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can go ahead with the next poll question.
Yes.
Considering time, you can be a little faster also. Yeah, you can stop and share the results, Jivika. Can you explain the question also?
The bigger the option pool, the lower the valuation of startup. This is true.
What exactly you meant in option pool? Like,
means usually option pools are calculated on post dilution basis, but when they are doing the valuation, this option pool is deducted from the pre-money valuation. So basically, the founders get their valuation gets lower.
So you should have less options, then you will get more value.
Jivika, I just want to add probably. I just want to add probably the value of startup will not change with option pool. However, value of per equity share will change.
I think
so probably the answer should be false rather than true.
Yeah, the valuation of the
startup will not change with the number of underlying denominator.
The price, enterprise value will not change, but the value per share is going to change. Yeah, there is a small.
Absolutely.
Correct. I understand.
So answer should be false rather than true.
Oh, yeah. Correct. The valuation of startup will not affect, but the value per equity share will change. Correct. Go ahead, Jivika.
Jivika, this question, which you are told, the answer is yes or no? The right answer.
The valuation of startup will not change, because the option pool comes about the dilutive equity shares. Like Mr. Ramesh has clarified, the dilutive equity shares pool will differ if you have a bigger option pool or a lower option pool. Valuation of startup will not get affected. Yes, value of per share will definitely get affected.
So the answer is no.
False, yes. This again is a multiple choice. So there are multiple answers. I request the participants to vote faster. Within 3-4 seconds, I'll be ending the poll.
The answer is all of the above.
What is the meaning of traction?
Sheetal, considering time, we'll get back to you on this. Jivika, you can go ahead and launch the next poll. Coming to your question, Sheetal, traction is basically the number of customers, how many are already on board. With respect to the last startup scenario, we saw that the traction has just started.
Okay, Shilpa, thanks.
Yeah, the correct answer is B. The burn rate is the amount of cash a business can spend before it runs out of cash.
Yeah, this in fact in the startup PPTs we have seen one startup I saw there was a clear burn rate. Yeah, go ahead, Jivika. You can launch the next one. You can end the poll, Jivika.
The answer is franchising. It's not an exit strategy.
Go ahead. How many we have in total? 6 is enough. Last one you launch and then after that we'll go ahead with the Q&A session. You can end the poll.
The correct answer is false because cash flow statement records even financing activities, cash outflows, and capital outflows and inflows, including sales.
Thanks, Jivika, for your support. The mandatory requirement of this poll is complete now, and the session can continue. As Mr. Mahidara has suggested, we are going to have an Q&A from the audiences, basically the registered values.
Yeah, Ms. Shilpa, we'll have a hard stop at 10 o'clock because Mr. Naveen also has to go for another one.
Okay.
Meeting after that.
Yes.
So maybe we can be very quick and we'll try to be as sharp as possible in answering. We don't assure that we know all the answers. So it's a learning phase for us. So we, the entrepreneurs and the investor panel, everybody will be there. So we can, if you have any questions on what was spoken or any clarifications, please feel free to
Yeah, Mahendra, I would like to ask, of the three pitches you saw, which one you would like to invest?
Very sensitive question at this stage. Normally, when we don't tell, but if you see, investors invest in three different kinds of. I'll answer it in a very, very diplomatic fashion. So there are some investors who only invest in idea stage. Okay, they don't go into pre-revenue and they exit by the time it is pre-revenue. There are some investors who only invest after a revenue has begun. There are some investors who only look for traction. That's if you get traction and then there is a scalability of traction, that's fine because customer acquisition is their focus, and that's particularly in B2C businesses. So it's apple to oranges. So I would not like to answer the question. I'll be very, very honest in this, saying that I don't want to answer this question. But the answer is we look at traction and then we look at the business model. And most importantly, the exit strategy has to be clear. Because if you take a loan, you know it has to be paid back, right? And then you have to pay the interest. So when it comes to investment, people do not think it as like a loan that they have to pay back. Because unless there is an intention of paying back and there is a clarity in that, we would not invest until that happens. So that's a short answer.
Will you be sharing?
Hi, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Now, when we are talking, hi, this is Uttam Padiwar. When we are talking about an exit strategy, does an investor look at a specific IRR? Does he have a specific IRR in mind, or a time horizon, or is it? It's a bit flexible. How does it normally happen?
See, in terms of an investor, definitely their IRRs are high, but then they look at the overall pool. No investor has invested in one single company, so the expected IRR is very, very high. So, but then they have a specific timeline. At least seasoned investors have at least 4 to 5 years in mind. But then otherwise they go through venture capital firms and they have a specific, kind of timeline of at least 6 years. So that's the timeline people look. And in terms of exit strategy, exit does not definitely mean just it has to get acquired. There can be partial exit. So most investors normally look for at least a partial exit rather than a full exit from all the investments. Unless the business is going down the docks, they would at least want 1x return back.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question on exit strategy then. Is it not overstated, especially if you're looking at early stage investments where the promoter director could be 1 or 2 persons and investor is conscious about that this is early stage, and a serious exit can happen only by a potential new investor taking over these early investors. That kind of influence and ability comes when the startup really takes shape, and also the early stage investor contributes in that effort. So asking the early stage promoter director to spell out the exit strategy, is it not too much of an ask from an investor?
No, because we want to understand. Sometimes investors are they marry the business. So in business, you have to be as objective as possible. So if you do not want, you have to look at business as different and individual as different. So it becomes quite hard for investors to invest in those businesses where people are not willing to part away their shares because of emotions.
No, my question was a little different. So suppose if I were the entrepreneur, I'm at an early stage, and you ask me what is my exit strategy, the standard typical answers will be either you'll be acquired or an IPO. But definitely IPO is at least 7-8 years away, depending on the growth path, because I'm at the really early stage. Other option is acquire. Is it not a default answer?
The answer is not for, the question is asked not for the answer, what they want to choose, to understand the mindset.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much.
May I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
What is the extra information do you look into a valuation report, or it is your own valuation analysis when you go ahead with the kind of investment?
See, in early stage startups, we all know that there is no one single number which you can value. the registered valuers normally give as low a number as possible. Then entrepreneur tries to give as high a number as possible. Investors try to go as low as possible so that they get higher share. So it's a negotiation end of the day. And what we generally look is the market size and a genuine market size and the ability of the business to really scale up. That's the most prima facie. But beyond that, a specific number has to be agreed upon. Otherwise, you cannot sign the term sheet. So, and you cannot actually get the shares. So what we generally look is a range of values rather than a single value, and also a range of techniques. DCF is not just the only technique, but of course, the law says DCF, the law says you need to give a specific way. So most investors don't just look at the valuer's report, they also look at market multiples, because you're also constrained by what law has asked you to sign on. So there are multiple things which you look on. Naveen, would you like to answer in some of the investments you have made on looking at the valuation?
Yeah, actually, different techniques are used. So one is the discounted cash flow methods, and the second is, as you did mention, on the market multiplier. So it's about the potential that it has and the segment that it is in. So there are a few other factors, and then we do the weighted average, and then come to a conclusion for. It's a lot on the stage of the company also, right? If it is an idea stage, it is with a lot of assumption, and we are betting so much more on the team and their capability, and you know the cohesiveness, and there could be IP also which can play a role. You know, so the potential. Today, if you look at three of the pitches, they're very different. The first one was driven more on the IP. The second one was on the traction. The third one was on the social impact, which was there. Specific funds today, and the valuations are a little different. The expectation, the IRR are expected very differently in a social impact segment. There are specific funds. I used to be a venture advisor for United Seed Fund, which invests into only those which has the impact. It's an impact fund, and at the same time, a lot lesser IRR. At the same time, it is about you know, the support that it can provide, and it needs to be a business. It can't be just because it has a social impact cannot be that, you know, it is philanthropic. So it's like the factors are very different. And based on that, you know, when we even assess and invest, it would be on multiple factors along to support with the valuation report. So valuation report, now the professional ones, especially who can deal with the startups, are able to cater to this data and information, which could be helpful for making decision in investments. The traditional method of calculating, then the softer sides also, like as much as like a startup which has the IP, which is the hard IP and the soft ones, right? You know, so same way the business and the IP. So here again in the valuation report, the technique, the model, which are scientific, and also bringing in the softer elements, which are together makes it very powerful and empowers and enables the investor.
Mr. Mahidra, are you willing to share any particular number on the value of these startups? Will you be interested to share it with us?
Of the startups which we have presented now?
Yes.
No, I don't think it is advisable.
I know. It's not much of information is available to us. Also.
No, even if the information available, we would not like to share that because of general practices. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to ask how impactful is for investment for a single promoter director, or there is a team of promoters? Does it really make a difference in the early stage?
Maybe yes, definitely. When answers could differ. Maybe Naveen may have a different opinion, but my opinion, and as I have seen, if you have a team of people, that means most investors are willing to invest because the risk is already diversified, more than one person, and then at least there's a business continuity which is discussed. Also, who are the team members also important. If it is husband-wife duo, father-son duo, people don't invest. Normally.
Actually, it's very tricky. That's why I asked.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but at the same time, we also want to see how much unrelated party or if your friend unrelated party, and then what's the reason for it to be together? There should be complementary skills, and then that's what it should come in. And there are individuals who have got funding, not denying the fact, but I'm talking about general industry standard. People would be happy to invest on a team-based ventures or a diversified risk. There should be no key person risk in a business.
Yeah.
Hello.
Mahindra,
Hello.
this is Subbarao. I have a small question.
My suggestion, one second, Subbarao, sorry to interrupt you. Is it okay? I would want to take okay from you that formally end the meeting, okay, and then continue with the Q&A sessions for 10-15 minutes. Okay, do you want that, or you want to just stretch for 5 more minutes and then formally end it for the day?
I think two things can happen. If you have more questions, you can always email to us, and with our limited time, whatever possible, we'll try to send it back. That's one of the ways so that we can do some justice to the questions.
Yeah.
And, maybe we can just finish in 5 minutes for the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Amit. I have a question.
This is a very important question for all valuers, Mahindra. Okay, see, there are a lot of discussions happens between investors as well as the startup companies. Now the startup companies also came up with some investment which they are looking, and the valuation also say 8 crores or 10 crores, and they want to dilute of 20%, 30%. As a valuer, how can I justify that? Because they have in pre-investment amount and the enterprise value and the investment, how much they are looking to dilute. As a valuer, how can I justify that in my report?
See, in fact, as a valuer, your aim is not to justify that report. As a valuer, your aim is to identify what is the value of the business. That's the prime responsibility. You'll have to understand your stakeholders. Your stakeholders are not only entrepreneurs, also investors. And that's why we say, why does the concept of registered valuer come? And why will any of us will be jailed if we do it in a wrong fashion? Because there is a value for the sign. And even I'm an actuary, if I sign on a gratuity valuation report, or let's say even on a ESOP report wrongly, then we could be caught after a certain period of time. So you cannot undervalue or overvalue. We call something as fair value. Now, when I say fair value, you will have to take all the factors. Some of the things which Naveen mentioned, the people is a softer side, you may not be able to capture. Declare that. What you're not able to capture in your report from your perspective, please declare that. Because at least the investor has a clear idea that this is valued from this perspective, and there might be a little bit more value additions there, and if you're not able to do it. And the law says you cannot give many disclaimers and stuff like that, but declarations can be made in the statements as to what are the exceptions to this particular value there. Please make that if you're not able to. At the same time, most valuers become so conservative that for a business which is valued at, let's say, $1 million, they try to give 1/5 the valuation or half the valuation of that, just to make sure that they're more conservative, and that helps. And that again takes away the confidence of the entrepreneur and the investor on the valuer's report. It should not happen like a surveyor's report of a land. What the government value of the land people say and what actual transaction happened is different. They say, okay, for the paper purpose, we'll keep that value. Then that just becomes a compliance. That's it. In order to really add value to the report which you give, you need to keep in mind all the stakeholders. In this case, you also have to keep in mind the stakeholders or the investors who would use the report, the entrepreneurs, and the regulator also in future. Of course, you don't have to worry about the customers because that's not your work. But then you have to keep as many stakeholders as possible in your mind. At the same time, issuing a favorable report for a specific entrepreneur or issuing a favorable report from an investor's perspective are all malpractices, which you should refrain from doing as a registered valuer.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a common question. Basically, what is the 5 or 7 things you normally want to have, which is must for an investor pitch or a valuation report we are looking at?
Sure. I would like allow Naveen to first go in this.
From common things which has to be there is it's about the business potential which is there, the market thing. Definitely the base is about the revenue and the revenue potential and how it could grow, and the market potential having been covered in that, and the team's capability and the alignment needs to come out. That's where the risk part of it is highlighted. And then it's about from the risk itself, there are multiple things. Today, most of these businesses also come with the technology thing. So keeping in mind the technology, the team, and their alignment to the market. So these are few elements which it has to consider, and also the ability for the team to execute this kind, because one is the idea, which typically the entrepreneur thinks idea is 90%, the value is 90%, and the remaining is 10%. But the investor believes value of an idea is 10% and remaining everything is 90%. So there is a big gap between the two in terms of expectation. And the valuation report, the valuators, their responsibility is to see how this, the report which is coming in, how it's bridging and how it's supporting for these two to come together and to have that fair value. So that's the whole idea. And the elements which are required would definitely vary, but these are some which is definitely to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to add to that, some of the key things which people look into a valuer's report is the expected ROI, which you could calculate based on reasonable assumptions. So, and they would definitely look at what are the assumptions you have used, because if they tweak the assumptions, obviously they will get different results. So more than the final number, giving importance to assumptions and what is your rationale for those specific assumptions will be key in your report. So of course, end of the day, regulator says give the number and sign off on it. Very true. I'll tell you, some of these are actuarial problems. When I say actuarial problems, not necessarily that they have to be dealt with by actuaries. Look at a gratuity report which is given to a chartered accountant. The liability figure there's no perfect answer. If you ask different actuaries, they give you different numbers. But at the same time, what is more important there is the assumptions which they have defined, the discounting factor, the mortality rates. What were the assumption factors which they use? So give more importance to the assumptions, and then how much reliability you can give based on your sources. You can also mention that these assumptions I have taken from these sources, which A are reliable or B are, since no source was available, I had to assume a specific number based on my experience or whatever you want to say. You need to justify the assumptions which you have taken. So that will make your report much more, reliable. At the same time, no one report, no two valuers report will always match. Please remember, it will never match. But we don't want to have a different direction. Somebody who has said, okay, this is uninvestable. Somebody who has said it is investable. That's not your work. That's the work of the investment committee to decide whether it is investable or uninvestable. Your work is just to value that this particular entity or a business idea is valued based on the circumstances. And also there is a expiry date for your valuation. That means if circumstances change or by next accounting year, things would have changed. So please make sure those things are understood by the investors in your report. There cannot be one valuation report. Let's say Soumya had come up with the valuation report in 2018, and she cannot say that that's the valuation. It could have changed multiple times today. So you may have to do a reevaluation. So, and for entrepreneurs, all the three entrepreneurs who came today, one request to you is do not try to do everything yourself. I know you are trying to save cost. Just the way you want to set up your business, you go and ask for an accountant to help you set up a business. When you want a financial advice, go to the right valuer, go to the right professional, because that will help you in actually making sure you got a professional help even in that time. See, I think Srinivas was mentioning that when you wanted to develop a software, you went near a software developer, right? Rather than doing yourself. So there are certain elements which are so important from an investor perspective. Take the right help. If there is a legal thing, these are all cost. But if you have taken that measure initially well, it will go a long way. And that also increases the confidence on the investors. Hey, he's a professional. He's asking for professional help, and the money is going to be utilized in the right fashion. So that's also very important. The process you follow, the governance, how good is your governance in your system? So that's when I will be more comfortable if the governance is good. So is it a right thing to discuss about governance in a startup? Why not? Because it's more important in that stage rather than when it is at the IPO stage. IPO stage, anyway, you're governed by the regulator, but at the startup stage, there's more risk. So people are trying to look at factors which will make their investments more comfortable. So that's very key there. Naveen?
Yeah, good points worth considering. And also one question I had for you, Mahidara, when I think Shilpa or somebody asked about these startups, are they allowed for any of these valuation experts who are there, if they are interested or their clients are there who would probably consider investment into any of these, are they allowed to talk to them, or
yeah, definitely allowed to
process? Is there a process? It might help the entrepreneurs. So I just wanted to, on behalf of entrepreneurs, I'm asking that.
Sure. I think there is a process because it's an association which they've come in. So they can submit the request through Mr. Vishu Gupta, that is CP Global and Tech Bharat. And then that request will go into, let's say, the association for the president, and then they can send it across to their members, because it's for the members to choose and whatever. Because, yeah, it is always possible each of you want to go on your own directly. It's a public forum here. You can always exchange your numbers and go and talk. But a right process, but it's on your own risk. There is no liability. At any cost, there is no liability from the association or company's perspective. But then if you come through a proper channel, you'll always have a good benefit always of the network there. So that's what I would suggest. But you're all free to contact any of the valuers here. You have almost some 60, 70 valuers. You can always go and talk to any person. My number is already there with the association. I think I'm happy to share my email and number. Naveen, if you're comfortable, you can share your email or your contact details. And any of you, and Mr. Vishu Gupta, thank you very much. Even you have supported a lot. In fact, Mr. Gupta has done a lot of work at the Tech Bharat event. And the chosen entrepreneurs are today who have come. They're actually a little bit more seasoned entrepreneurs. They have competed against many entrepreneurs at that G2G event. So there's a lot of value. And what I see is, I'll tell you, if you are in Silicon Valley, if you're in San Francisco and California, there's an ecosystem built. In Bangalore today, we call ourselves as the Silicon City, but we are still getting the ecosystem right. So it's the bunch of valuers, the bunch of entrepreneurs and the investors. This kind of a forum is important. It has to grow. And the more we mature out, the better for entrepreneurs and for the economy there. And everybody will benefit out of it. I would only say that.
On behalf of all the registered valuers here, many of whose clients are startups, many of us would be wondering whom to approach for investment. So can we approach the angel investors and how can we do that? For this is specific to Mr. Naveen and Mr. Vishu Gupta and Mr. Mahidara.
We are always happy if you can send us the proposal, but then it would be also advisable to understand that every mail, we get at least 50 business plans a day, to be very honest.
Oh my God.
So we have to tell you that we are overloaded. So you have to, anybody is definitely free to approach for funding, but then it would also be good if you can highlight what, when, because most business plans, if they cannot reach 100 inbox, they go off. So I'm just telling you, it is not that people are arrogant. People do not have the time. So there has to be clear value proposition, how it has to come. So that's the best way to approach. But what I'm trying to say is, we're not the only investors in the market. There are many. We can always forward it to the right people, and we will definitely do that. I'm just typing in my email ID in this forum, so that you can always get in touch with me, and that would be best. Yeah, since it is a values forum, I can give my number.
I would request Mr. Ramamurthy Srinivasan to officially have vote of thanks. In constraint of time, we will not be able to take more questions. Yes, Mr. Srinivasan.
Yeah, this has been a session like no other session in the past. So this has been previously what sessions we have had was sessions essentially between valuers who will say that, okay, how a certain specific valuation issue needs to be addressed, option valuation, ESOP valuation, business valuation, and I think they were segments of valuation we were talking about. Today is the first time where, you know, we have a real life investor and a real life startup on the session. So this has been extremely innovative, extremely illuminating. We wish to thank Mr. Guru Prasad, Ms. Soumya, and Mr. Srinivas on behalf of the startups, and we wish to thank Mr. Davangere, Mr. Lakur, and Mr. Gupta on behalf of who were present and who had, you know, I would say searching questions were asked of the participants, the startups. So we understood much of the investors' point of view here, and we have also had an appreciation of the startups' point of view, especially the grilling on exit strategy was, you know, was the key grilling. The key takeaway today is, what is your exit strategy? So that is something I think as a valuer we were not too focused. Now we have a different perspective. So I would like to thank everyone for the today's session, and I wish we have more of such sessions going forward. Thank you all. Thank you once again.
Yeah, I just want to add a thing. All the three entrepreneurs, since they came here and then they have pitched, we, at least from my end, I would like to offer additional one-on-one session with them, free of cost, and also to see where we can work closely for you to help raise more capital. Because all the three businesses, you risked to come in front of people. One of the key things for entrepreneurs is they shy away from sharing their business plan, thinking that others will take away their business. I would only say others are too busy to copy your business.
Yes.
So, thanks for coming. Having said that, as a gesture for BVA and as a gesture for Tech Bharat, I would like to offer a pre-discussion before term sheet at a later stage. So I will allow Mr. Gupta to take this further from here. This is an outcome of today's session, which live you all have seen. Mr. Naveen, would you like to say anything?
It was nice to meet everyone, and I think Vishu Gupta is doing a great job of coordinating and helping these startups, and we are there to mentor. So I spend more time in mentoring and coaching, nurturing. I do training programs. So whichever that Vishu Gupta from CEP funding, they would need that help, or they think these are the startups which is ideal for them to be mentored such that it can create an impact. Happy to support.
Thank you, Mr. Naveen. I think that's a wonderful gesture, and we will continue working together going forward. Thank you, Mahidhar. And I referred the startups, but I think Bangalore Values Association and has given them a fantastic platform. And yeah, I'll be sharing the pitch decks with the president, and looking forward to have much more interactions and helping the startups on the way to get funding. Again, once again, very warm thank you to everybody who's been part of this and willing to support the startup ecosystem. Thank you.
My heartfelt thanks to Mr. Mahidara, without whose support I wouldn't have made this session so lively. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and wish the startups get their funding also.
Thank you guys for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah. Bye.